The wait is almost over. Hillary Clinton is set to announce her presidential run this weekend. This is Special Report. Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. In just 2 days, we could have our first and least surprising Democratic contender in the race for the White House. So how will Hillary Clinton announce her candidacy? We have Fox team coverage tonight. Carl Cameron in Nashville at the National Rifle Association convention with Republican reaction to the Clinton news. But we start with Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry in Iowa tonight with the latest on the question of not if, but when and how Hillary Clinton will announce her run. Good evening, Ed.
That's it. That's right. Good evening, Brett. Hillary Clinton will finally make it official on Sunday and then pretty quickly get here on the ground to Iowa, where today we caught up with both of her leading Democratic rivals, Martin O'Malley and Jim Webb, who are trying to beat her to the punch.
Hey, hi there. Nice to see you.
Two Democratic sources close to Hillary Clinton tell Fox she will announce her second presidential campaign via social media on Sunday in a rerun of the video she cut way back in 2007 to look warm and fuzzy on her living room couch.
I'm not just starting a campaign, though. I'm beginning a conversation with you.
Except last time, that conversation did not start in key battlegrounds like Iowa for a week. So in this second episode, her advisors plan to get her here to the Hawkeye State for events as early as Monday to start engaging one-on-one with voters. Though Democratic rival Martin O'Malley has already been here several times and is warning Clinton this will not be a coronation, the former Maryland governor suggesting she's old news.
Look, I think history's full of examples where the inevitable front runner's inevitable right up until they're no longer inevitable. And what I've heard all around the country is that people want new leaders. They want to hear the voices of the new leaders, and they want us to have a robust debate about the issues our country faces.
Another potential Clinton rival, former Virginia Senator Jim Webb, is jumping on this week's Quinnipiac University poll, which found 49% of voters here in Iowa do not find Clinton honest and trustworthy.
People are looking for leadership that they can trust. They're looking for leaders who will say what they really believe and be consistent about it, and rather than massaging issues to try to get one political safety zone or another, will really take the risks of leadership and put them out there. And we've done that my entire political career.
Has Hillary Clinton done that in her career?
You have to ask her.
Clinton will also eventually be asked about the fact that the State Department's Inspector General is now investigating an arrangement that allowed her key advisor, Huma Abedin, to work for the government while employed by a private consulting firm. And O'Malley, who also served as mayor of Baltimore, today suggested Clinton had a weak record as Secretary of State.
My experience is as an elected executive of a big city and also as governor. Her experience as an executive was overseeing the Department of State. On some other issues, I don't know where she stands, actually, when it comes to reining in reckless behavior on Wall Street and regulating Wall Street.
Now, Clinton, of course, can counter that in a dangerous world, a former Maryland governor might not have enough experience to be commander-in-chief. Though interesting, I'm told in the last couple of days, Clinton has been holed up behind closed doors, boning up on issues like ISIS. Her advisors admit she hasn't been out on the trail in a long time. Could be a little rusty. Brett?
Ed Henry live in Des Moines. Ed, thank you. Well, as the Clinton machine gears up, potential Republican rivals are already out on the trail. Several are at the National Rifle Association convention in Nashville. That's where we find Chief Political Correspondent Carl Cameron tonight.
The 44th Annual National Rifle Association convention attracted 70,000 enthusiasts to Nashville, and that brought most of the GOP 2016 presidential field, who took aim at President Obama, and Hillary Clinton, who launches her campaign this weekend.
I wonder what her slogan's going to be. It may be, what difference does it make?
Hillary Clinton actually gave Russia a reset button. Think about that, a reset button.
From Nashville, Walker goes on a week-long European trade trip. His last was pockmarked by his refusal to answer non-trade-related questions like his position on evolution. All of today's speakers who've held elected office have A ratings from the NRA. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who also has an A rating, was campaigning in Iowa this week, where he courted young voters.
Let's let college students deduct the entire cost of their education of their working careers. Let's make college tuition entirely deductible.
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie was also a no-show. The Garden State has added new gun control laws on Christie's watch, and he gets a C rating from the NRA.
In just 3 days in Miami, I will announce whether I will run for president, for re-election to the Senate, or for commissioner of the National Football League.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio's long-planned announcement Monday in Miami will now compete with Hillary Clinton's campaign announcement and Iowa trip. Rubio's expected to say he will not seek re-election to the Senate to fully commit to a White House bid, creating an immediate contrast with Rand Paul, who's planning to run for Senate re-election at the same time he runs for the White House. For Rubio, running against Jeb Bush also amounts to challenging a political mentor who helped him get his start in Florida politics.
I have a message for the Obama administration. Why don't you focus more on keeping weapons out of the hands of Islamic terrorists and less on keeping weapons out of the hands of law-abiding Americans?
Rick Santorum, the winner of the 2012 Iowa caucuses, got several standing ovations. He filed a Testing the Waters committee for his campaign just yesterday.
And the GOP field will reconvene a week from tonight, Friday, in New Hampshire for another presidential cattle call. Many of them say they're not really sure if they're going to run for president, but they will be standing under a banner next week that says First in the Nation primary state. And everybody who speaks at the podium is supposed to be a presidential candidate, Brad.
Carl Cameron live in Nashville tonight at the NRA. Carl, thanks. A little later in the show, the latest interview in our presidential contenders series. I sat down with Donald Trump this week. Our conversation coming up at 6:30. A 20-year-old Kansas man was in court today accused of planning a suicide bombing in support of ISIS. John T. Booker is charged with attempting to detonate a half-ton car bomb at Fort Riley in Kansas. The complaint says Booker went so far as to rent a storage locker to hide his bomb and talked about his commitment to be a martyr. Overdue recognition today for the survivors and relatives of those who died in the Fort Hood shooting. 44 people received Purple Hearts at a ceremony at the military post in Texas, where then Army psychiatrist Nidal Hasan went on a shooting rampage in 2009.
And praying that everybody who received this award today are doing well, and we're able to pick up the pieces, wake up every day knowing that we are victors, and to continue on our lives as normal as possible.
As we reported yesterday, these Purple Hearts are unusual. Recipients are still fighting for medical benefits that normally come with the honor. Trouble again tonight for the Secret Service. D.C. Metro Police say Officer Arthur Baldwin has been arrested for attempted burglary and destruction of property. This comes just one day after we learned a supervisor is being investigated for an alleged assault against a female employee, and just weeks after 2 agents were accused of driving into a bomb investigation scene near the White House. On the heels of an Iranian nuclear framework deal that may actually be falling apart, another big foreign policy move by President Obama tonight. He's expected to meet with Cuban President Raul Castro tomorrow. Correspondent Kevin Cork is traveling with the president and has the latest from Panama.
At the Summit of the Americas, a visit to the Great Locks of the Panama Canal. Symbolic, perhaps, for a president looking to unlock the decades-long gridlock between Washington and Havana. The diplomatic thaw at the forefront of the regional gathering hosted by Panamanian President Varela and attended by Cuba for the very first time. Though separated by a mere 90 miles, the United States and its neighbor have remained worlds apart since the Cuban Revolution of 1959, when Fidel Castro ushered in the communist regime now led by his brother Raul, creating a lasting political gulf the Obama White House has worked hard to bridge. There was the handshake between presidents at the funeral of Nelson Mandela. There have been 2 phone calls, and now the administration is expected to remove Cuba from its list of state sponsors of terror, a designation it has shared with Iran, Sudan, and Syria. Last night's meeting between Secretary of State John Kerry and his Cuban counterpart was the first since the 1950s, further evidence of the administration's headlong push to renew ties with the island.
We're confident that this process of engagement will ultimately lead to not just improved relations between the United States and Cuba, but will also end up being beneficial for the Cuban people and give them the kinds of opportunities that they might not have in the past.
Opposition to renewed ties has been fierce. On Capitol Hill, New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez has called the White House policy toward Havana misguided. This as pro-democracy Cuban dissidents were attacked by Castro backers in Panama.
Within a matter of seconds, they were surrounded and attacked by these thugs of Castro's state security apparatus. and they were savagely beaten.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio condemned the assault, saying it's, quote, reminding us of the true nature of the Castro regime and showing just how naive President Obama's Cuba policy is.
Those practices by the Cuban government were ongoing despite the embargo, despite the isolation. And this new approach, we believe, is a better way to improve things on the island, to improve conditions for the Cuban people.
Presidents Obama and Castro expected to have a breakout at some point tomorrow, though the timing has not yet been set. Brett, we're also told they may even stand next to each other tonight for the so-called family photo of leaders this evening. But it's not expected to be all smooth sailing for the White House. President Maduro of Venezuela not long ago stoking anti-American sentiment, telling locals, reminding them, that is, of the 1989 U.S.-led invasion, that never again should the United States invade a Latin American country. Tough crowd and perhaps a tough weekend for the White House. Brett, back to you.
Kevin Corke traveling with the president in Panama. Kevin, thank you. Up next, the fight over a vote on the Iran deal hits the airwaves. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 32 in Chicago with a tornado that killed 2 people and injured 20 in northern Illinois overnight. The fire chief in the tiny town of Fairdale says 17 of the town's 71 structures were ripped from their foundations. Forecasters say at least 2 tornadoes touched down in that area. Fox 24 in Charleston with the latest on a white police officer facing capital murder charges in the shooting death of a black man. Walter Scott's family says he may have run from the officer because he was behind on child support and wanted to avoid jail. And this is a live look at Austin, Texas from our affiliate out there, Fox 7. They are covering the rush to get the Apple Watch. Pre-orders began today, but don't expect to see them on anyone's wrist until at least June. Apple is set to begin shipping on April 24th, but timing on U.S. deliveries is about 4 to 6 weeks for most models. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.